For centuries, we treated the giants of literature like prophets. Reading a masterpiece by someone like Leo Tolstoy was considered an encounter with pure, divine inspiration, a transmission straight from a writer's untamed soul. 19th century critics reinforced this myth by obsessing over the author's psychology, morality, or social standing. In their search for philosophical weight in Dostoevsky's work, they ignored the actual mechanics of the writing itself. That romanticized view collided with the early 20th century. This was an era defined by rapid industrialization and a new clinical interest in how things actually work, the age of the machine. Viewing a novel as a magical occurrence creates a massive blind spot. When we ignore the structure, we lose the ability to see how a story actively manipulates our reactions. The Russian formalists were a radical faction of linguists who rejected that mystical tradition. They chose to treat books as manufactured goods, no different from any other piece of complex engineering. Their thesis was that literature functions as a meticulously engineered machine, a device built to trigger specific emotional and cognitive responses in the reader. They produced forensic teardowns of famous texts. In his essay, How Gogol's Overcoat is Made, Boris Eichenbaum bypassed the author's soul and went straight for the structural components, treating the story like an engine on a mechanic's table. If we want to understand classic literature on that same level, we have to grab a wrench and reverse engineer the narrative machine. We begin with the first tool in the formalist box, separating the raw events of a story from the way an author structurally presents them. They called the raw chronological sequence of events the fabula. This is the linear path where event A happens, then event B, then event C. The sujet is the plot itself, the author's deliberate manipulation of that timeline. By shuffling blocks, hiding information, or jumping ahead, the writer constructs a specific experience. Stratagem 2, the time shift, is a primary way authors scramble the sujet. By disrupting chronological causality, they force the reader to experience suspense or confusion that the fabula wouldn't naturally provide. A story's emotional impact relies entirely on this structural packaging. The events themselves matter far less than the order in which they are delivered. Moving deeper into the machine, we find the microscopic components holding the timeline together, motifs. The formalists identified a motif as a homologous pattern, the absolute smallest structural unit of a text. Bound motifs are the load-bearing pillars of the narrative. If you remove even one of these structural nodes, the logic of the entire story breaks. Free motifs act as aesthetic camouflage. These are the atmospheric details authors use to hide the bound motifs, distracting the reader from the raw engineering underneath. To find the core structure, we can apply the 13 stratagems of narrative deduction, a manual for identifying which details are truly essential. Stratagem 1 identifies the dangling free motif. This is a recurring, seemingly minor detail that actually serves as a hidden anchor to the central plot. Stratagem 3 highlights the disproportionately long treatment. When an author focuses excessively on a small detail, they are often signaling a hidden structural necessity. Isolating these narrative anomalies exposes the author's precise orchestrations, allowing us to see the internal logic that prose usually hides. This clinical approach was eventually suppressed in its home country, as the movement was shut down by authorities who preferred more traditional, ideological analysis. Despite that suppression, the teardown methodology survived. It spread across Europe, evolving into modern structuralism and the academic field of narratology. Formalism provided the vocabulary we use today to decode how media and stories shape human perception. These same tools apply to every book on your shelf, every film you watch, and every show you stream. Every single shocking twist and emotional peak is a carefully calibrated mechanism, functioning exactly as its builder intended.